was the people, a total of 23 sailors were thrown out of the vessels in the process. But our Coast Guard, the Kenya Coast Guard Service and the Kenya Maritime Authority have been able to rescue all of them except 2 who succumbed because they were able to float and look for help. And therefore, I'm very grateful to what the Kenyan agencies are doing for the country and to even to support our neighbors. So I'm very grateful. The culture of taking security alerts, weather alerts, public safety alerts seriously is very important. We are just left with just within the, the estates and the villages where people are still crossing. It's very important. We are just left with just within the, the estates and the villages where people are still crossing rivers when they should not be doing so. And again, that is sensitization that we continue doing so that we treat this thing much better. Otherwise, we hope that we will not have much loss of life. We hope we will not have much damage to property. And the matter that is happening in Kijabe area, I think we are seized of that matter, and it's quite delicate, but we want to avoid a situation where we can have a repeat, because what happened in my Hemayo is already too heavy, and I can feel the weight that could be on the shoulders of my sister, the governor of Nakuru, and the other friends from that place. Once more, Your Excellency, thank you, private sector, thank you, development partners, thank you, county governments, and thank you, national government agencies. The coordination, the unity of purpose is extremely commendable. And I think that's what should be encouraged. I have not seen agencies competing or trying to take credit unnecessarily. And once more, thank you very much, including the Red Cross and other humanitarian partners. Asanteni sana, we have a toll-free emergency number at the NDOC, which I think should help us, especially the county government, to publicize to as many people as possible so that we can save situations before they get out of hand. With those many remarks, it is now my pleasure to invite the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, to come and address us. Thank you, Your Excellency. You're welcome.
Thank you. Please be seated. Excellency Governor is present, our Cabinet Secretary is present, Principal Secretary is present, Excellencies, Ambassadors and High Commissioners, the CEOs of state corporations, the private sector, non-state actor representatives, our development partners, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Last week, His Excellency President William Ruto made a call to Kenyans to start together and join hands in overcoming what is destined to become one of the most devastating environmental challenges to be experienced in our country. As was noted, the continued torrential rains have led to instances of road closures and the loss of lives and property across the country. The severe weather conditions have impacted over 227,000 people, caused 228 fatalities, injured 100 take your seats. In their memory, we have come together to commit to joining His Excellency, the President's call to action to continue being our brother's keepers. Like in all previous times of challenge and crisis, the Kenyan spirit of compassion and fortitude in times of adversity has always come through, embodying the true meaning of Harambee. Despite the overwhelming impact of recent events and the pain and agony of families who have lost loved ones, homes, and livelihoods, we have observed that our humanity and the natural desire to extend a hand of generosity to our brothers and sisters has not been diminished. I therefore thank our first responders who have been on the ground, undertaking search and rescue services, providing food and other humanitarian support, tracing and uniting families, and most importantly, offering psychosocial support across affected areas. I also thank you for heeding to our call today and joining us in framing an even more elaborate structure of aid to families and communities whose lives have been turned upside down by the calamities of the last few weeks. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the government of Kenya has made significant strides in mitigating the impacts of the flooding and other disaster actions across the country. Since our last engagement, we have made efforts to mitigate loss of lives, especially around dams and swollen river basins. The opening of schools has been deferred until further notice, and humanitarian and other assistance has been accorded on priority basis to particular affected sites across the country. Road closures to facilitate infrastructure repair to bridges, roads, and railways have been given priority. Our disciplined forces have been deployed across the country to back up the first responder teams and clear roads and waterways. However, even with the extensive government-led programs at both national and county level, we appreciate the need to receive and coordinate additional support for greater effectiveness. In this regard, we are calling on our development partners, the private sector, non-state actors, and individual well-wishers to contribute in cash and in kind to the noble efforts to support those most affected by the floods, landslides, and other related challenges. Last week, the National Disaster Response Steering Committee technical team identified and categorized the most urgent areas requiring expedited support. These include food assistance to affected families, non-food items, water treatment to mitigate the risk of waterborne disease outbreak, emergency housing solutions, essential medical commodities, and repair of critical infrastructure. We see an opportunity to jointly coordinate extended support to these areas through a joint-up action involving government, development partners, the private sector, non-state actors, and individual well-wishers. This whole of society approach will allow us to respond rapidly and strategically to where the needs are greatest, allow the greatest level of flexibility to deliver timely and effective coordinated assistance to the most vulnerable families, and facilitate a more impactful outcome of chosen interventions. In this regard, we invite the use of the following architecture. 1, development partners with existing financial support arrangements with the government of Kenya and who are in a position to make requisite program changes to support flood mitigation efforts are to engage through the National Treasury with due information to the National Disaster Operational Center Secretariat on the toll-free emergency contact, which is 0800-721-571, and the International Development Partnership Coordination Unit in the Office of the Deputy President for information and coordination purposes. 2, all other private sector and individual well-wishers wishing to make cash donations may liaise with the National Drought Response Team led by Mr. Peter Ndegwa, the Chief Executive Officer of Safaricom Limited, whose membership and mandate has now been expanded to support the flood mitigation actions, and will gazette that expansion of mandate and renewal of their term tomorrow. Number three, the drought response team has an existing infrastructure in aiding coordinating private sector and individual well-wisher cash donations. The private sector and well-wishers are therefore invited to send cash donations to the National Drought Mitigation Appeal Fund. And we shall be releasing the account details, one in foreign currency, the other one in Kenya shillings. Number four, any development partner, private sector, and individual well-wishers with in-kind donations, including food and non-food items, care packages, medical packs, are invited to deliver them to the National Disaster Operations Center at Nyayo House, Nairobi, and also available on toll-free emergency contact 0800-721-571. The same will be centrally warehoused at designated Kenya Defence Forces and National Youth Service and the Kenya Red Cross warehouses for subsequent distribution through established partnerships in a coordinated manner. Where the private sector individual well-wishers intend to undertake distribution directly to the victims on the ground, they are to communicate the information on the nature, quantity, and quality of in-kind support intended to be distributed, the intended area, site of support, intended date of distribution, and intended number of recipient households or persons to the National Disaster Operations Center, Secretariat for Information and Coordination. The purpose of that is to cure what is happening today. Many people who want help are going to one destination, and what is happening now, Mathare, because of proximity, is the destination of choice. And it's a good thing, but we are giving supplies to one area and oversaturating the support to the detriment of other areas. So it will be appropriate, all those who want to help, if they lie us with our secretariat at Nyayo House so that we coordinate. And we can also marshal resources together for equitable distribution across the country. The National Disaster Operations Center team shall guide such individuals and private sector organizations on the ongoing on-the-ground security arrangements, local national government administration liaison, and appropriate dates for distribution in order to ensure good order, security, and fair and equitable distribution across the various victim sites. Where a private sector organization or individual wishes to channel support directly to a county government, they are to similarly provide information on the nature, quantity, and quality of in-kind support intended to be distributed, the intended area or site of support, the intended date of distribution, the intended number of recipient households and persons to the National Disaster Operations Center Secretariat for information and guidance. Distribution of in-kind support should only be undertaken with the presence and coordination of the relevant county commissioners or their designated representatives. Donations received will be recorded and published on the National Disaster Operations Center and the Ministry of Interior and National Administration websites and updated on a weekly basis. The Office of the Auditor General will be tasked to ensure not only the accountability and transparency of fund utilization, but also assurance of the integrity of adopted processes of food and non-food distribution actions. A comprehensive report will be provided on the use of donations received upon the final audit. The Inspector General of Police and the National Government Administrative Officers are directed to secure enforcement of this protocol and further communicate to the National Disaster Operations Center Secretariat details and information to interested local community actors in coordinating distribution efforts. We invite all donors and well-wishers and sponsors to adopt this approach so as to secure the coordination, consolidation, demarcation, and distribution of donations to vulnerable populations across the country based on the needs map already developed in a transparent and accountable manner, while also making a visible impact to the communities. to facilitate the allocation of emergency funds to support the disaster mitigation actions as anticipated in the Public Finance Management Act, whereas the minimum requirement is for an allocation not exceeding 2% of the total government revenue as shown in audited financial statements for the previous financial year. We call on counties to dig even deeper and facilitate any additional amounts necessary to save the lives and livelihoods of our people. As of this morning, we have directed the National Treasury to give priority while disbursing funds to those counties that are very affected, and that is already being done. In conclusion, I thank all Kenyans and other actors of goodwill for their prayers, support, and sponsorship already offered. We invite any other additional facilitation that may be available to be channeled through the above structure in a manner that will deliver effective and impactful support. I reiterate the message of His Excellency, the President William Ruto, during his address last week, that in the face of daunting challenges, immense threats, and unprecedented hazards, our nation has never failed. I'm confident that we shall live up to the true spirit of Harambee and to the restoration of the dignity to those most affected. Asanteni sana. Let me say that I want to appreciate all of you for the support. Since I came to office, we have had 3 major challenges, and the team here and others have really supported my office. I don't take it for granted. I want to say thank you. The challenge we are facing today is heavy. We are not able to sleep. Calls are coming from across the country, asking for food and non-food items. People asking for military choppers to assist in dropping food. People asking for support. Parents are very unsure of what will happen to their children. The children are at home. We have no date of when the schools will reopen, so it's a difficult time, but I want to thank the people of Kenya for their understanding, cooperation, and support. I agree with the governor of Garissa. I've been to Garissa 3 times in difficult circumstances. I'm looking forward to come for a wedding ceremony soon, and when all this is behind us, and I think it will be behind us. I want to thank CS Interior, the PS Internal Security for the support, and we have seen a lot of coordination, and there is a lot of efficiency in the activities that are going on. We'll ask the team that works with the PS Omolo to remain behind with the PS National Treasury so that we can agree on a few things on the funds available, on how to apply those funds, and then we can agree on how to move forward. Dr. Stephen Jackson, we have agreed that there is some support that will be coming. We'll be able to make an announcement along the way. And I've also requested him to advise me on how he wants us to coordinate more appeal to our development partners, because the support is not as heavy as we would have wanted. We will continue appealing to them so that they can continue supporting us. Governor Susan Kihika, we know you have a huge challenge on Thursday, so you may want to hang around also so that we can see how the national government can support you. Already you have done a lot of work as county government of Nakuru, and that's what I'm asking the governors to do. Within the available resources, these resources are for the benefit of the people that you lead. In difficult times, you have the latitude to apply the resources to ensure that the people you govern stay alive and they are assisted. So I want to ask our governors, within their limited resources, to consider that extraordinary times call for extraordinary interventions. And we must allow flexibility in difficult times. And I think the people that you govern will understand. The controller of budget will understand. The Auditor General will understand, because these are difficult times. We are in this situation at a time of scarce resources, but we'll mobilize the resources available to deal with this disaster, because that is what we must do. Lives are most important. All other things can wait and can follow. We all work for the people of Kenya to be happy. They can only be happy when they are alive. We need to save lives. We need to make sure that our people feel we are doing the right thing by making the right intervention. So I want to thank the private sector. We'll agree so that we can renew the mandate of that team. We can expand it. We can gazette as early as tomorrow, so that you work within the legal framework and you start mobilizing whatever resources that are available. I want to say thank you very much. And we'll be meeting until the situation is well contained. It's always good when we exchange ideas, when we meet together to do an audit of what is happening and agree on the next steps of intervention. And I want to thank you for always coming when we call you, and we'll continue to do so. I want to say thank you very much. Asanteni sana. Finally, let me acknowledge support from the United Arab Emirates. They have given us 40 metric tons of food supplies, another 34 metric tons of non-food supplies, a total of 74 metric tons at JKIA. So that it can help our people. I want to say, Ambassador to the UAE, thank you very much, and we appreciate the support. Thank you very much, Balozi.
Your Excellency, sir, just to request you to remain on stage as we invite the diplomatic corps for a photo session. Kindly members of the diplomatic corps, our ambassadors, our chargé d'affaires, our high commissioners, all members present, the UN residence team. Please.